Hey everyone, Frank here. Glad you could join us. A couple of years ago I bought my third airplane, which I since crashed, but that's another story. And I took quite a bit of video. I've been across Canada twice, and it was difficult the first time, but this time I had a little bit more relaxed and was able to take quite a bit of video footage of it. It's just some really stunning landscape, and you really kind of get to know the country by flying over it at low and fast speeds. So we just had a really great trip. It was about a 3-day trip, and the weather was good, and we'll show you what Canada looks like from a low altitude in a small aircraft.
Alright, so here we are in beautiful downtown Wyerton, home of Wire to Willie, and we're just getting ready to depart. A pretty nice day, a little bit of cloud above us here, and next thing we're taking off to Wawa, Ontario.
Wyerton pretty early in the morning, and the weather was really good there, so then we had a bit of a tailwind, so we're actually pretty lucky we made it across in about 3 days. So this is just along, you go up the Bruce Peninsula and you go, that's Lake Huron on your left there. These are really massive lakes. It's amazing. It's like on the ocean. Like if you look at the horizon, all you can see is water. There's nothing in beyond that, so they're kind of looking into the States there. So they didn't have to fly over water too much. The next leg from Wawa to Thunder Bay, that you fly more over Lake Superior, but yeah, still it's a huge body of water. The last time I flew across there, kind of in the winter time, there was more ice. It was a little safer, and I flew a little bit more out into the water. But in the summertime, in a small plane, you know, I'd be pretty careful. Even though I got about a 20-to-1 glide ratio, you know, so for every mile up you are, you could fly 20 miles, and it's pretty easy to see with the flight tracker there exactly how you are from shore, so you can kind of calculate it. So you could, if you had an engine out, basically coast all the way to shore and swim to shore. But you definitely don't want to be stuck out in the middle of one of these big lakes. They're huge lakes, and the wind comes up on them pretty good, and it's a nasty place to be stuck. So, but there we go.
Oh, so we're here with the big boys in Wawa, Ontario. So there's the tourist information center. Big Goose. See the big goose? The little goose. It always feels small when you come to these places. Did a nice landing here too. Show you what the airport looks like in Wawa.
Leaving Wawa, we're heading over the bigger crossing. So this is Lake Superior, which is quite a bit bigger than Lake Huron. So it always kind of, you know, makes you a little nervous going over that much water, but didn't have no problems. The plane run good and had a bit of a tailwind, and it wasn't too much of an issue getting across. From Thunder Bay on, it's you get into Manitoba, and it's all pothole country. You see it really kind of changes. There's just so many lakes up there. It's amazing. You know, in the northern part of Ontario and into Manitoba, there's like a lot of water there, and you see just lakes everywhere. And especially in Quebec and in Ontario too, you see ice fishing shacks everywhere. You don't see many roads. You wonder how they get to them, but yeah, they just love their ice fishing. There's little shacks on each of the lakes and stuff. And then so you get out of Ontario and you're in Manitoba. You see a lot more lakes, and you start to see more kind of a ranch country there. And yeah, I see all kind of little potholes, and a good area for grazing cattle and stuff. Not many trees in this area. They're probably really bad for bugs, I'd imagine. But so we're getting into the prairies here. Now we're running more than a thunderstorm belt and stuff, and we're seeing quite a few storms on our flight, on our instruments and stuff. But we're able to get into Steinbach, which is just one of my favorite little places. Steinbach, Manitoba. Got a nice little airport there, and yeah, just only a few minutes to walk to town. And yeah, there's really bad storms in the area, and we'll show you what the storms look like on the flight tracker. Looks like we got a bit of a storm, eh? No wonder there's so much rock and roll outside.
It was a pretty nasty storm that rolled in here overnight. Just getting kind of a downpour here. I think they'd be calling this the FR weather. For marginal at the very least. Yeah. The lightning earlier was continuous in the night. Never stopped. Okay, here's a nice little lounge they have here in Steinbach. You come in and kind of wait out the weather. If you're a pilot, read some magazines, wait for things to improve. And little deck here, you can have your lunch. This is just one of my favorite little airports. And they have gas. Funny, they don't have a meter here. They just you get in there and you phone the guy and you leave your credit card information there, and then they send you a bill for it. Last time I was here, I left my credit card here. So there's a tractor there for fighting fires. Here's a little shot of the air tractor here, based in Steinbach. I guess it's used for forest fire fighting, by the looks of it. Looks like a pretty powerful little beast. You do some pretty cool stunt flying with it. Looks like she got lots of power. The size of that prop. And all it is a tank and one seat.
It didn't take very long for the weather to clear up, and we got out of Steinbach, and we had some nice blue skies, and headed over to Manitoba. And the next place we flew to, where we spent the night, was Maple Creek, Saskatchewan. So yeah, so we're getting into the prairies here, just probably close to the Manitoba Saskatchewan border here, and we're kind of getting up to my favorite place going across Canada. Really like flying over the prairies. You know, once it's a little windy here, so if it's windy, you want to stay up a little higher because the gusts kind of throw you around quite a bit. And we had a pretty good tailwind most of the ways. I was, doing up to 135 miles an hour, so we're making pretty good time. But once it gets a little calmer and it's not so gusty, I like flying really low. It's just a lot of fun flying, even less than 500 feet. You can just fly pretty low. I mean, it's pretty amazing. It's almost like you're flying a jet across a jet fighter across the landscape. Things are really moving really fast, and there's always something new to see. So that's one thing about flying in the mountains. If you're quite high above the mountains, the scenery's not changing much. But so I just love flying across the prairies. You fly over low altitude. You gotta watch out for cell phone towers. There's not much other air traffic, but there's cell towers everywhere. So I could kind of see them on my instruments there, but I mean, you really got to keep an eye out for them because some of them are quite tall. So if you ran into a cell phone tower or a guide wire, that would you'd have kind of a shitty day after that. So yeah, lots of there's I think there's big Hutterite farms there, pig farms, chicken farms. This looks like a Hutterite one here. Looks like there's lots of housing there. The Hutterites have pretty big colonies and just pretty massive farms in this area. You can see big grain farms and just kind of. This here is looks like, yeah, this is a pig farm, I think. Look like a pig or a chicken farm, I guess. Another colony, and then there's lots of oil patch stuff through. There's gas plants and the big grain. See, look at all the grain silos and stuff they got in some of these places. Pretty fair size grain storage facilities in some of these big farms. And it's just really nice just scooting across here and looking at all the cows and the different ranches and stuff. Not a lot of small little family farms there. Most of them are pretty big. And the cool thing about flying in here is, they got lots of roads, these little access roads. There's no power lines beside them. If you got any trouble, you can just land on any of these roads. Some of them have power lines on them, but a lot of other ones, you don't even have power lines beside them. So it's almost like a runway everywhere. So if you get in trouble with visibility or something, I had to do it on my first trip across Canada. We got in a poor visibility, and I had to land and wait for the weather to clear up in one spot, but I had no problems at all this time. You just zip right across. So I'll just shut up for a little bit and let you enjoy some music and the beautiful scenery going across the Canadian prairies.
So here we are flying in the middle of nowhere, and you think, you know, you'll be in some hillbilly town, pay $50 for a hotel. But, you know, I spent all day walking around Maple Creek, Saskatchewan. Actually, not all day. Anyhow, so this is the only room that was available, so it was $150. Eh? I remember when I was a kid, I spent $150 for 2 months' rent. So I had two choices: either stay in this fancy friggin' room or sleep in my plane. And it's pretty bloody small, so very much room in there. I didn't have sleeping bags, so I spent $150 and I got this castle here.
Oh, got a good night's sleep in Maple Creek, Saskatchewan, and we're heading into Alberta, so just across the border, and things kind of start to change here quite a bit. As you can see, it's really good land in here, lots of irrigation here. You see these big wheel lines and pivots. We don't see irrigation in very many other places, but a lot of these big round fields, looks like they're growing a lot of hay in this area, and pretty high value crops. And a pretty dramatic change, and this is where it starts getting really flat. You know, you always think of Saskatchewan and Manitoba as being flat, but they're not really that flat. But as you, well, where I was flying anyway, so we're along the Trans-Canada, see these great big canals bringing all the water and stuff into there. So the soil is quite a bit different than it is in other places in the prairies. It's kind of neat to see these huge canals and irrigation projects in southern Alberta, and you can see they must grow really good hay in here. It looks beautiful from the air to see all these big fields and all the pivot lines and hay fields and stuff along here. So as you start heading towards Lethbridge, all of a sudden you start seeing windmills, and there's a lot of windmills. There's rows and rows of windmills. And the reason being is you're right in behind the Rocky Mountains there, so we get to the Rockies pretty quick. But you look at these windmills and you think they're not turning that fast, but these things, I don't know, something like about 120 feet high or something. And they're really going. This is just a really windy area. The last time when I came through here, I just seen a huge roll cloud across the mountains. I landed at Lethbridge and the wind was blowing at 44 knots. So it's a really kind of a challenging place to transit through. The wind can just really throw you around in a small plane. I mean, it'll flip right upside down and tear you to pieces if you don't hit it right. But we're lucky. I was able to mid-morning by the time I come through there, and had actually a bit of a tailwind, and no problem. It just zipped right through there, and we're heading into the Rocky Mountains. The Rocky Mountains, they present a whole bunch of new challenges, being the wind and the altitude, the thin air. You're not supposed to go over 10,000 feet, but sometimes you have to fly a little higher than that. But again, we had pretty good luck this time going through there. But you really got to be on your toes going through there. The winds can be really nasty in there, and the visibility can change really quick on you, and the weathers can change fast on you too. So, as we started heading in, and see there's pretty good visibility here, and as we started heading further west, the clouds, they started, there was quite a bit of ground fog, and the clouds in the lower levels started meeting this more higher cloud. So the problem is you can get sucked in pretty quick. All of a sudden the clouds from above you are coming down, and the clouds below you are coming up, and you kind of get sandwiched in between there, and all of a sudden you can find yourself in a pretty nasty situation where you have no visibility, so if you push it too far. So yeah, it all worked out good. I was able to fly along there. And probably the worst thing you can do is try to get underneath and stay in the passes and stuff, and then you have to worry about flying into the side of a mountain. I would prefer to stay up at higher altitude, and even if I had no visibility, stay above the terrain and basically use a synthetic vision to maintain my altitude and everything like that if I had to. So. But yeah, we made it through there. It wasn't a problem. It was actually a really nice day to transit through the Rocky Mountains, and it's always pretty spectacular going up through these areas. But the one thing in a small plane, you're always, looking around, and you always have it in the back of your mind. Well, my engine died here. Where could I glide to? And probably a big advantage about these ultralights is that they have pretty good glide ratio. So, like I say, for every 5,000 feet up you could actually, fly for 20 miles level. And if you're going, so that kind of helps you out quite a bit. You have a lot more options as to where you would land. So, so here you can see the clouds. The ground, the lower clouds and stuff are coming up, and then the higher clouds are dropping down. So it looks actually pretty bad here. You thinking, well, where's your alternate airports, and where can I land? Can I turn around and all that? So. It's a pretty busy time flying through here. You got all these things to think about. But this was one of those situations where it wasn't looking too bad going through, and I never did fly in a cloud here at all. And I come up through the other side, and things started looking a lot better, and was able to make it right into Grand Forks without incident. So yeah, it was a pretty good flight across the Rockies. It kind of almost blows your mind when you can wake up in the morning and have breakfast in Maple Creek, Saskatchewan, and have supper at home. So we were able to zip right through there, and I didn't have any issues coming into Grand Forks. So yeah, it was a lot of fun flying across Canada. You really you think about how big this country is and how diverse the country is, and it makes you really appreciate Canada. Seeing it at a small airplane at a low altitude going across, and it's kind of the highlight of my aviation career. Is at 2 trips made across Canada, and actually up to the Arctic, up to Tuktoyaktuk too. It's just amazing how big this country is, and how well you can see it from a small aircraft and really get to experience what Canada's all about. So yeah, I hope you've enjoyed this, and we'll head back into the mines and check out some more mines.